Welcome to Schmitt Tonight, commercial free on this Monday. And on Friday, special counsel David Weiss, the same federal prosecutor who investigated Hunter Biden for years and intentionally allowed the statute of limitations on Hunter's most egregious tax charges to expire. Well, that same man charged Hunter Biden with 3 felonies and 6 misdemeanors for tax evasion from years 2016 to 2020. Weiss says Hunter failed to pay around $1.4 million in taxes on about $7 million in income he had made selling his father's power all over the world. Now, anybody who's actually following this story and watching the details, paying attention to the incredible testimony from the IRS whistleblowers, one of whom is a Democrat, well, that person is likely scrutinizing this latest move with a healthy suspicion of what the motives are here really. What is the actual reason the DOJ is charging Hunter at this moment? After all, for years, DOJ worked vigorously to protect, to install, and then exonerate Joe Biden from culpability for his family's multi-million-dollar corruption scheme. So you assume that there's an angle here, because the moves like this, moves this big, there always is a big reason, and it's never just justice or democracy or any of the other catchphrases our government and its sycophants in the media project onto us. One theory you should be willing to bet on at this point, I would say, is DOJ has assessed the entire situation right now, and with Trump looming in 2024 and loads, and I mean loads, of circumstantial evidence of a huge scandal here, a quick federal indictment on Hunter is maybe DOJ's best option at saving its reputation while also giving Joe Biden a shot at 2024 and also giving Hunter Biden a ton of protection that we'll get into here in just a moment. Again, it's highly plausible for anyone paying attention to believe that's the motive, anybody listening to what the IRS whistleblowers have been screaming from every forum that they're allowed to speak at. But for Jake Tapper over at CNN, this whole theory is beyond parody. And Tapper, who otherwise has absolutely no personality whatsoever, attempted to humiliate James Comer on Friday when he made this very logical assertion. Tapper attempting to mock the congressman's claim. Here it was.
My concern is that Weiss may have indicted Hunter Biden to protect him from having to be deposed.
Yes.
In the House Oversight Committee on Wednesday.
He indicted him to protect him. Yes. The classic rubric. He indicted him to protect him. I got it.
Well, look, this whole thing's been about a cover-up. You know, you've got 2.
That's why he indicted him to protect him, to cover it up.
Jake Tapper's playing dumb here because that's his political narrative. That's CNN's news guy, by the way. If that was Rachel Maddow or somebody else, I wouldn't care, right? But that's their news guy who's been ignoring 10,000 pounds of circumstantial evidence of Joe Biden's involvement for the last 4 years. Tapper won't touch or talk about any of it. Tapper has been ignoring Tony Bobolinsky's repeated requests to come on his show for the last 2 years. Jake Tapper has been doing everything in his power to make sure that CNN's audience and its wide reach stays blissfully unaware that the President of the United States is a very clearly compromised man. But don't worry, he's doing it to save our democracy from Trump. So he has the best of intentions. But let's ignore Jake for a moment, like the audience typically does, and think about how much sense Comer's theory actually makes when you think about it and when you're not mocking him. A quick charge from DOJ, a fast-track trial on tax evasion that nobody cares about and nobody will really talk about. It doesn't touch Joe Biden, most importantly. This gets nowhere near the president. It's not going to affect the vote, is what they think. And maybe the most important part of all, what's happening right now, allows Hunter Biden to plead the fifth with 3 congressional committees, which are all anticipating giving Hunter a 2-day legal colonoscopy that's scheduled to happen later this week, known as a deposition. What's supposed to happen this week is a really big deal. This changes it. Also, if Hunter is convicted, let's remind you, since Jake Tapper thinks it's so ridiculous to charge somebody with felonies, if Hunter's convicted of a federal felony, Joe Biden can pardon that in an instant. Get it? It ain't complicated, Jake, and he knows all this. He's just, again, he's playing dumb because he doesn't want Trump and he wants Biden in the White House. But they don't want you to think about all of the things that I just listed off, so they scream conspiracy theory like Jake Tapper did, and they mock and they laugh, and they pretend like there's nothing there when there's just a million pounds of evidence. They want you spoon-fed their narrative, that Hunter is charged. The DOJ is totally legit. There's nothing to see here. This is really serious stuff. It's a heavy-handed indictment. Part of it reading that between 2016 and 2020, Hunter spent his money on drugs, escorts, girlfriends, luxury hotels, rental properties, exotic cars, clothing, and other items of a personal nature. In short, everything but his taxes. All of that, ooh, it sounds really, really tough, right? It's all stuff that the American people have already digested. This does no damage whatsoever to Biden 2024. He could face 17 years in prison, Hunter could face. Ooh. Does anybody really think Hunter Biden is going to spend a day in prison when his dad is the president of the United States? Is anybody buying this? And again, the whole purpose is to keep this thing miles away from Joe Biden, miles away from the real story here, which is that this family has been selling access to one of the most powerful people in this country, something that when you're doing with places like China, places like Russia, you're at the line of treason. That's the real story. Nobody cares about Hunter's little $1.4 million in taxes that, you know, the rich lawyer guy in California already paid back anyways. All of this has already been digested, and that's the story they want you to see. Everything you already know about, everything you've already digested is the story that's the only story. How do you keep that the only story? Because at the end of the day, all of these people are working together to what? Keep Donald Trump out of the White House, and right now Trump is winning in the polls. And so far, everything they're doing is working perfectly. This is what the narrative sounds like in the media.
The story of his addiction and some of the activities that flowed from it are very well known. But it's important to note that it is about Hunter Biden. It's not about Joe Biden. There are a lot of people in this country who have children who have fallen to addiction. And despite 2 years of effort, there's been no success in linking Biden to any wrongdoing by Hunter Biden.
And there's Wolf. Yep, that's right. No evidence whatsoever. Yes, it's all just Hunter. Ignore the people who were in on the deal, who have already had testimony saying otherwise. Ignore the shell companies. Ignore the text messages. The loan repayments for the non-existent loans. Ignore the common sense answer we all have in our heads. And the claims from the leader of Burisma, the guy that founded Burisma. Ignore all of that. No, it's just Hunter. And everybody has a bad kid. You should feel sorry for Joe. He just has a bad son. Can't stay out of trouble, but Joe's such a loving dad, he didn't know what to do. In an attempt to play the victim further and spin this as a totally undeserved political hit job, Hunter bizarrely went on a podcast with a DJ where he gaslit the country with this.
They're trying to destroy a presidency, and so it's not about me. In their most base way, what they're trying to do is they're trying to kill me.
Well, you don't listen to Moby's podcast? Weird. And finally, there's Senator Mitt Romney, whose TDS is so severe he'll do anything to prevent Trump from re-entering the White House. On Meet the Press Sunday, the senator sat for a 30-minute interview, half the show, helping NBC push their establishment government propaganda, left-wing propaganda, in many various different forms, including this moment where he and Kristen Welker both spiked the football, reminding the entire country that at this point we only have massive loads of very compelling circumstantial evidence of Joe Biden's corruption, making it very obvious, including many whistleblowers and everything else I just listed out. But Republicans still don't have HD quality video of Joe Biden taking a bag of money from a foreign adversary while saying, yes, I will use my power to help you achieve your adversarial goals. We still don't have that, which means Kristen Welker and Mitt Romney sound like this.
House Republicans have signaled that they may vote as early as this week on an impeachment inquiry into President Biden, despite the fact that they haven't shown yet a direct link between Hunter Biden's business dealings and President Biden. Have you seen any evidence that President Biden has committed high crimes and misdemeanors?
No, I don't see any evidence of that at all. I think before you begin an impeachment inquiry, you ought to have some evidence, some inclination that there's been wrongdoing. And so far, there's nothing of that nature that's been provided.